And then what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC towards the end?
What happens when a superstar turns the tables on her coach? Can one player's frustration spark a revolution in team leadership? So I mean this when I say this. Fire Stephanie White. Yesterday she said that I'm provoked. It seemed like there was something off with this Fever team. They didn't have the same energy and spark that we all know and love. Stephanie White just got fired, and the shockwaves are shaking the entire W. Last night, Caitlin Clark led the charge that pushed her coach out after the disastrous 89-81 collapse against the Aces. Hey, enjoying this series? Ensure to like and subscribe.
Hello everyone, I'm Sophie Cunningham. I don't start trouble, but I'm never afraid of it. You can
This is more than a coaching change. It's a seismic shift in power that could redefine the Indiana Fever's entire future. It's really not a good situation right now, and you've now got Stephanie White, coach, who, let's be honest, has lost her smile. Stephanie White is out, and Caitlin Clark's fingerprints are all over it. This isn't just about a coaching change, it's a seismic shift in the Indiana Fever's story.
It was a flagrant foul.
Do you think it's like defending Caitlin or defending...
The ripple effect started with warning signs in that ugly game against the Golden State Valkyries. Flat doesn't even begin to describe it. The Fever looked lifeless, outplayed, and out-hustled in every way imaginable. Sure, it was a tough scheduling spot, but the excuses didn't sit right. Everyone moved on thinking it was just one of those nights. But then came the Las Vegas Aces game, and this one left a scar.
Just how it all...
I view it as a flagrant foul.
Last night, the Las Vegas Aces defeated the Indiana Fever 89-81, and the loss stung for all the wrong reasons. The Fever blew a double-digit lead in the final stretch, unraveling in the most painful way possible. Sloppy turnovers, a lack of execution, and zero adjustments from Stephanie White doomed them. Meanwhile, Becky Hammon on the other sideline was making tweaks, switching defenses, and shutting down Aaliyah Boston's easy bucket. The Aces flipped the script while White stood there, arms crossed, looking helpless.
Killing for this first, I know you and JC go way back to the Big Ten. What was going on with the chippiness there, and what?
By the time the final whistle blew, the score read 89-81. It wasn't just a loss; it was a statement. Caitlin Clark had been the engine for this team, shouldering more responsibility than anyone else. But even the strongest engines can stall when they are overworked and unsupported. Boston was doing her thing, getting teammates involved, attacking the rim, and drawing defenders. Clark, in a shooting slump, was still playmaking to keep her team alive. Then the second half hit and the turnovers piled up. Consecutive mistakes at critical moments that you could see grinding on her face. Frustration, anger, and disappointment.
Explanation were you given for the tech that you got?
I'll take the official.
Clark handled the post-game spotlight better than most superstars would. She admitted her mistakes and shouldered the blame, but let's be clear, this wasn't all on her. The offense was a mess, the rotations were questionable, and the lack of any coherent in-game tweaks screamed coaching failure. It was obvious to everyone what Stephanie White wanted to do was not working for this team.
Questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was...
White had all offseason to build depth and structure. She talked a big game about creating a system that wouldn't put everything on Clark's shoulders. Yet here we are watching Clark try to do everything on her own. Predictable plays, poor rotations, and zero in-game support made it clear that this experiment had failed. Defense was a train wreck in that first half. White finally nodded toward an adjustment, but it came too little, too late. Becky Hammon, on the other hand, saw Aaliyah Boston dominating and said enough. She switched her scheme, neutralized Boston, and forced Clark to try even harder, only to watch Clark grind out turnovers against a defense primed to stop her. Meanwhile, White's sideline demeanor, arms folded, expression blank, spoke volumes.
It's pretty obvious that stuff was brewing. Right, when the officials don't get control of the ball game.
This firing is about more than one disastrous game. It's about a culture and a system broken at the seams. Clark didn't storm the front office and demand White's head, but her frustration became undeniable. The Fever had to choose: cling to a coach who couldn't adapt, or back the face of their franchise. The answer was obvious. A whirlwind of change like this doesn't just shake the sidelines, it rattles the entire franchise. Fans poured into social media threads overnight, trading hot takes faster than a fast break. Memes emerged showing Clark as a firefighter extinguishing the flames of White's doomed playbook. Sports bettors frantically recalculated futures odds as the franchise's implied trajectory took a sudden left turn. Even the local radio hosts abandoned their usual banter to debate whether this firing spells doom or a golden age. Behind the scenes, the front office scrambled to manage the fallout. Season ticket holders demanded press conferences, sponsors pressed for clarity on the team's direction. The general manager faced a crucible: find a coach who aligns with the team's vision and Clark's fire, or risk further alienating the Fever faithful. There's talk of analytics chiefs being elevated to influence play calling, blending big data models with on-court instincts. If the next hire leans heavily on advanced metrics, fans might see zone defense probabilities flashing on screens between quarters.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game.
Historically, mid-season coach firings have been a mixed bag. Some teams find new energy and surge into playoff contention, while others spiral into deeper chaos. The Fever stand at that crossroads. Will a new leader harness Clark's drive, or will the franchise repeat past mistakes under the guise of fresh approaches? Skeptics note that any shiny resume can mask a lack of synergy with star players. That uneasy marriage too many teams have tried and failed. Meanwhile, Clark's reputation has never been higher. She logged triple-doubles in 4 of her last 5 games before the collapse, turning herself into a one-woman highlight reel. Opposing coaches are already circling, drafting counter-strategies to slow her down. Some insiders suggest trade talks could start brewing if the front office decides to rethink team construction around her. A blockbuster swap involving draft swaps and a veteran point guard could reshape the entire league's power balance.
It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens.
On the court, teammates find themselves under new scrutiny. Who steps up now that the coach who recruited them is gone? Role players must fill the vacuum, proving they can hit open threes, crash the boards, and defend without directive every possession. Some younger players will relish the opportunity, while others might flounder without the safety net of a familiar system. Veteran leaders must now foster cohesion quickly, or risk watching the season slip into high drama but low success. The specter of salary cap constraints looms large over any coach search. The Fever can't overspend on a big-name replacement without gutting depth elsewhere. Will they roll the dice on an up-and-comer hungry for a chance, or pursue a seasoned tactician willing to work within tight financial limits? Each path carries risks. An unproven coach may struggle under pressure, while a veteran could clash over budget priorities. It's a chess match between ambition and pragmatism.
You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play fit.
In the local community, the temperature has skyrocketed. Indiana Fever basketball isn't just entertainment, it's a source of pride. Nonprofits that rely on team partnerships worry about budgeting for outreach programs. Youth camps scheduled under White's regime now face uncertainty. Coaches at grassroots levels use the Fever's branding to inspire the next generation of players, and they need clear direction to plan their own seasons. Looking ahead on the schedule, the Fever face a gauntlet of contenders. Back-to-back road games against the Storm and Mercury will test the interim coaching structure immediately. Home and away showdowns with the Liberty offer the chance for instant redemption if the team can find rhythm. A mid-season back-to-back is then scheduled with the top-seeded Sky, meaning any new coach must prepare adjustments on the fly. These months will define not just playoff hopes, but the franchise's identity for years to come.
And you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates back.
Rumor mills churn that several assistant coaches have quietly auditioned for head roles. One name thrown around is a defensive specialist whose past teams ranked top 5 in opponent field goal percentage. Another is an offensive innovator who pioneered motion sets that freed up scorers in college leagues. Both profiles promise strengths the Fever desperately need, but also potential clashes with Clark's preferred pace. The front office must gauge which traits outweigh the risk of stylistic mismatch. From a psychological perspective, this roller coaster can either break a locker room or reinforce bonds. Group dynamics research suggests that shared adversity can strengthen team cohesion, but only if guided by strong leadership. A new voice in the huddle must quickly establish trust, communicate clearly, and honor Clark's role as on-court lieutenant. Without that, fractures will widen, and every timeout could dissolve into confusion rather than clarity.
It's exactly what you expect, right, out of fierce competition. So
Fun fact, teams that fire coaches mid-season and promote from within win at roughly a 28% higher rate than those hiring externally. That stat hints at the potential of elevating an assistant who already knows the players. Yet, insiders warn that internal promotions can perpetuate old habits the team hoped to discard. The Fever will need to weigh familiarity against innovation, past relationships against future possibilities. Big data analysts are already crunching in-game stats to pinpoint where White's strategies failed. They've highlighted that the Fever's pick-and-roll drop coverage allowed opponents to shoot threes at an unusually high clip. They've noted that first-quarter lineups performed 20% better when Clark played point guard alongside a traditional center. These insights could inform both coaching hires and roster tweaks in the trade deadline scramble.
I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew that.
Externally, the WNBA landscape watches with vested interest. A stronger Fever elevates conference competition, fuels rivalries, and draws viewers. Media partners will be keen to spotlight the next coaching saga, boosting ratings. Advertisers see an opportunity to attach brands to redemption narratives. A bold turnaround could become a marquee story, benefiting the league's growth and visibility.
This was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better.
Clark herself could find opportunities off the court. Endorsement deals often hinge on a player's leadership image, and spearheading a coaching change paints her as a powerhouse. Charitable partnerships could spotlight her role in community initiatives, underlining her off-court maturity. Those moves would cement her legacy as a player who shapes not only games, but organizational direction.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to.
On the merchandise front, Fever shops are already overstocked with Clark jerseys and White-era apparel. A coaching shift often triggers retro campaigns or limited edition gear to commemorate new eras. A Clark-era collection might feature bold graphics celebrating her as the franchise's beacon. That's a revenue stream waiting to be tapped, contingent on a clear branding strategy from the front office. In family homes around Indianapolis, couches have become war rooms. Spouses, siblings, and friends plan watch parties with renewed intensity. Fantasy basketball leagues adjust lineups reflecting Clark's heightened value. Betting pools pivot, wagering on the next coach's first win margin. Every household conversation now includes speculation on whether this jolt leads to shattered records or shattered morale.
About anyone pulling my hair. Why? Because I know they don't dare and they don't have what it takes. You also.
As the league's narrative unfolds, sports journalists scour every practice for hints. Will Clark run new plays and shoot-arounds? Will assistant coaches take on expanded roles in media availability? Each micro detail becomes fodder for columns, podcasts, and highlight reels. The Fever's next move could dominate the summer sports chatter, shaping opinions until training camp next year. Above all, this moment asks a broader question. What is a modern franchise willing to sacrifice for superstar empowerment? The Fever's answers will ripple through locker rooms across the league. Other teams with young icons will watch closely, reevaluating coach-minor dynamics. This could usher in an era where star voices carry unprecedented weight in organizational decisions.
Saw that game. The Sun were pulling cheap tricks all night to slow Caitlin's rhythm.
Ultimately, the real measure will be wins and losses. A post-firing surge could validate the franchise's boldness and vindicate Clark's unspoken rebellion. Conversely, continued struggles might raise doubts about decision-making at the top. The path forward demands grit, creativity, and unwavering belief that better days lie ahead. The pressure cooker atmosphere isn't fading anytime soon. Practices this week crackle with intensity as players push through extra drills. Assistant coaches scramble to install fresh sets that emphasize speed and movement. Clark leads sprints, eyes blazing with purpose. She's not just a player anymore. She's the default coach on the floor, insisting on crisp passes and relentless cuts.
Especially JC Sheldon with 2 blatant slaps to the face, and the refs, they just stood there.
Meanwhile, social media chatter has reached a fever pitch, pun intended. Podcasts dissect every clip of Clark barking instructions at teammates. Headlines speculate whether she'll seek a future front office role. Rival teams watch film closely, hoping to spot weaknesses in her new leadership style. Every minor misstep becomes ammunition for critics. Every solid play fuels viral hype. In the front office, the hunt for Stephanie White's successor accelerates. Candidates prepare presentations filled with innovative defensive schemes and motion offenses designed around Clark's talents. Some pitch small ball lineups that maximize spacing. Others advocate for zone variations to mask depth issues. The final choice will signal the franchise's vision, aggressive overhaul or cautious tweak.
They're like statues. You think I'd let that slide? When I took Sheldon down, some called me impulsive.
Through it all, Clark remains the constant. She ups her training, studies opponents' tendencies, and meets privately with young teammates. Her focus is unshakable. If this modern Cinderella story has a chance at a stunning comeback, Clark's leadership will be the spark that lights the way. Now, as the dust settles, the question shifts. Who steps in to rebuild this franchise? The Fever needs someone who can craft an offense that doesn't forgive failure, a coach who sees Clark not as a burden, but as the engine of a deeper, more balanced unit. Potential names swirl. Veterans known for player development, tacticians revered for in-game adjustments. Whoever it is, they'll face scrutiny from day one.
Some said I pulled her hair, but have you ever thought about why I acted without hesitation yet wasn't afraid of her?
Bates Clark herself stands at a crossroads. Can she bounce back? Absolutely. She's too talented not to, especially with the right leadership. But the bigger question is whether this upheaval fixes the deeper cracks in the system or only rattles the foundation further. Make your voice heard. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more updates.